That means it's time to start TDX, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks so much for coming. We're really excited for you to be here. This is going to be the platform integration roadmap and championship.
Yeah.
And we're going to be making some forward-looking statements. That's part of a roadmap presentation.
Part of why you're here.
Yeah, get ready. Be excited. Just a reminder that if anybody is considering making some purchasing decisions, make sure those are based off of what's currently available in market and not the items that are on the roadmap, because the roadmap is subject to change. So with that, I wanted to give you all a special thank you for being here today. It's bright and early. We really appreciate everyone that's here in person,
Look at y'all,
kicking off TDX right. Thank you. We also appreciate everyone that's going to be tuning in later, that's tuning in on Salesforce Plus. So thank you guys for being here with us today. Today, I'm delighted to be joined on stage by Ross, Jeremy, and Raj. We are product managers in platform integration. I am Ty. And yeah, we work on basically the whole suite of synchronous and asynchronous integrations, all the APIs. We're the crew.
That's right.
So, part of what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be talking about the roadmap for platform integration. We're going to be talking about what's new. We're going to be talking about what's coming. And we're going to be playing a little game that we call the Platform Integration Championship. So what I want to encourage everybody that wants to play to do is to scan this QR code. It's going to take you to a little web app called Poll Everywhere. Really easy. You don't need to come up with a password or anything. Choose your name, choose your gamer tag. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through 10 questions through this presentation. And we're going to be asking you questions about platform integration. Points are going to be awarded based on speed and accuracy. And you're going to have 10 seconds to answer each question. The winner is going to claim the Platform Integration Championship belt. All right? This is a hefty object. This is a 6-pound championship belt. So we're really excited to see who takes it home. Andrew, our champion from Dreamforce, is with us today. Andrew, I was wondering, do you want to come up here and tell us a little bit? Yeah, come on up, Andrew.
The champ.
We're delighted to be joined. I mean, I don't know, for the folks that didn't make it to Dreamforce, Andrew had a truly spectacular showing at the inaugural championship.
You guys are going to have to bring it.
This is it. This is it. Amazing. Andrew, can you tell us a little bit about, first of all, what does it feel like to be a champion?
Yeah.
I mean, it's very rewarding. It's amazing. It's, very hefty thing to carry around, but, lots of people took pictures with it. It's a lot of fun. I'll hang it mounted on my wall later. It's nice.
Beautiful. And any advice for folks when they're thinking about the session and the championship?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is just pay attention to the presentation. It's easy to get distracted and look at your phone, but pretty much all the questions usually are in the presentation or comments made during the presentation. So as long as you're paying attention and answer quick, you'll be in the running.
These are great tips. Thank you. We'll have you back on later. Thanks for coming. And also, gotta give it up for Andrew for bringing this through TSA. Jeez, that's
That's a pre-check situation right there.
That's a pre-check
That's
situation.
full-on
That's
pre-check.
a real champion move.
Yeah.
All right. So kicking it off, Ross, take us away with what's new and what's coming for name credentials.
Absolutely, yeah, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to jump into name credentials. I'm actually going to spend all my time today talking about one sort of key issue that I suspect everyone's dealt with at some point or another if you work with OAuth. Any OAuth fans in the house, give me some love for OAuth, of course. Yes, how wonderful it is, right? Here's the problem. When you've been using OAuth in your integrations, you've been working with the auth provider construct. You probably heard from this. I see a head nod there. That's good, okay. The auth provider construct is built and maintained by another team, doing a great job, optimizing it towards what we would think of as inbound use cases, and that's left a lot of folks like yourselves maybe a little bit underserved when it comes to what it means to have an outbound call from Salesforce that needs to first go through an OAuth handshake to get its authentication. You got some packaging limitations. A lot of times you need Apex to handle that handshake piece and deal with what's basically non-standard behavior on the part of the remote vendor. A lot of vendors don't stick to the OAuth spec for a variety of good and not so good reasons. But what we wanted to do was address this by what we're calling the external auth identity provider. It's a new construct you'll see under setup, under name credentials. It's live now because it's part of Spring 25, okay? And you can add custom request parameters to this to help deal with those non-standard situations, right? So you might need to add something to the header. You might need to add something to a query string to pass along an extra parameter of some kind. so that you can actually get that token before you hit the target endpoint with that token, okay? So we also support Pixie now, which the auth provider entity did not, okay? So you should be blocked less often when it comes to dealing with OAuth, making calls to endpoints that use OAuth, in terms of not having to drop down to Apex to solve those problems, because we don't want you doing that, right? And that's a hassle that no one really enjoys. So this is a huge thing that we've been working on for a while, and we will be taking this further as well. Now that this is sort of fully under the scope and umbrella of name credentials, we can do whatever we want with it to optimize for your outbound use cases. And I think it'll be huge going forward, and we're really stoked. So I just wanted to hit that. Hit me up about anything else on name credentials after after this, if you want to talk some more, and we'll get to the championship questions about this topic. So let's just say that you're using OAuth, theoretically, hypothetically, but the IDP operates in a way that deviates from that spec. What options do you have to get the access token? All right, you ready with your devices? Here we go. So do you want to build your own solution in Apex? Should you instead specify some parameters on this new external auth IDP, use an auth provider, or use the external credential construct? All right, let's see what happens. Oh, fantastic.
Hey,
you guys are paying attention.
showing.
This is a strong start.
Yeah.
You guys are off to the races, crushing it already. Yes, external auth IDP is the name of the entity that you can be looking for in setup, in the doc, etc.
So I don't have to build it in Apex.
Why would you do that? Yeah, you got stuff to do, man.
Yeah, okay.
You can't be writing Apex for this. Yeah.
All right. So here we go.
Oh, we got a game.
We got a strong showing on the leaderboard, guys. This is very exciting.
This is huge. Oh, okay, so this is another one. I didn't touch on this specifically, but we also see a lot of folks doing server-to-server integrations, okay, using the client credentials variant of OAuth, so username and password. What options do you have to get that working, okay? Do you use the new external auth IDP thing that I talked about a second ago? Do you use auth provider, build your own solution in Apex, or do you use the external credential capability that's new-ish, released a release or two ago? Okay, here we go. Nice, okay, so we got some folks on the bottom. The external credential capability that's relatively new, past couple of years, includes full-fledged support for client credentials. So if you have server-to-server and you have the option to do that, for example, Salesforce allows you to auth in using client credentials. Handy for server-to-server. So check that out if you have that situation.
So use the new-ish external credentials.
That's right.
Don't use external auth IDP?
You don't need to.
You don't need to.
Yeah, maybe later we'll add something to it if you need to customize it for something that's non-spec compliant.
So
but
it doesn't do that now?
not yet.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
But we're going to make that happen, no problem.
Oh, that's good.
All right.
Safe harbor.
Yeah. It's a very safe
right.
harbor that we're in right now.
Ooh,
All
Dave
right,
the Ghost.
Moving along, Dave,
All
up
right.
at the top. All right.
Cool.
Cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to hand it over to Jeremy to tell us about Enterprise API.
Okay, thank you. So what are we doing with the APIs? We have a number of exciting things coming in the API land. Firstly, we announced this at Dreamforce, but we are now enabled in the beta bulk API to query partial downloads and job status events. So if you're using bulk API to query to extract data, you can now get notifications of your job status via platform events and also links to download data in progress of extraction. We've also added some new fields to the API total usage event. This is part of event monitoring, but I do want to make you aware that every single customer gets access to the previous 24 hours of the API total usage event. You can actually go in and look in event monitoring in setup and get that down. And we've added these two new fields, connected app name and username fields, to better help you identify the origination of your API calls. So that's a great tool for monitoring your API calls. And then we have some updates to our Open API specification beta for the REST API, continuing to work on that as we take our journey towards GA. So there are improvements, especially we've changed the shape of the OAS generated for S objects to make it a lot more compact and consumable. So do check that out. Also, we're announcing something new and exciting here at TDX. How many people have Apex REST APIs? Excellent, a good spread. So you can now make those Apex REST APIs available as agent actions. This is a beta which is now being enabled in all your orgs. You basically use VS Code. We can generate the OAS from that as a starting point. You can modify and improve that OAS, deploy that, and therefore create custom agent actions available on your Apex REST APIs. Come and see us at the booth. We have this demo running, so we can show this in person. But it's an exciting new, step of, enabling agent actions. So, and when you get back home, you can start using this beta. And then, what's coming next? What are we releasing in this summer and beyond? Firstly, and pay attention to this, retirement of API versions 21 through 30. That will be in this release. Please upgrade your APIs. And we do in sort of the release updates, you can actually activate that version retirement now just to sort of test what's going to be the impact. We do have some exciting new bulk API 2 improvements. We're doing a lot of work on improving the performance of both query and ingest. Our goal is to make it on parity for V1 and adding more support capabilities like support for JSON and XML and also handling failed records due to record locking. So there are going to be improvements in the bulk 2 roadmap. For those of you that are using event monitoring and composite APIs, we are planning to onboard composite API sub-requests into event monitoring so you can see how those are being processed. And we are working towards the GAing the Open API specification for the REST API. Also, something else that's exciting and planning on doing a safe harbor, a beta into summer 25, is what we call named query, where you can actually create predefined SOQL queries in setup and make them available to a number of different platform components, either as agent actions, available as REST APIs, as a data API, in Flow, and in Apex. And so that will be a graphical interface inside of setup. You'll be able to use a graphical query builder or a textual input, but it's going to provide a more dedicated and focused capability and more performant than doing this via Apex or Flows. So you can see a recorded demo of this at the booth, so please do come along and check that. And so,
It's question time.
now, as Tyson did say, pay attention. So, which API versions are deprecated and will be retired in this summer? This was in the presentation.
Jeremy was so subtle with the, you should pay attention to this.
Yeah, I barely noticed.
You have no excuse for not getting this correct.
All right. Hey,
Nicely done,
that's a
everybody.
strong
Yes,
showing. All right.
good score.
All right, beautiful. Okay. We got Dave still at the top of the leaderboard.
I
Hey,
got my
Dave
money
the
on
Ghost.
Dave. I got my money on Dave the Ghost.
Yeah.
Wherever the ghost is out there, I got my money on you.
All right.
Okay, now what's the maximum number of records that can be uploaded per 24-hour period with bulk API 2 ingest?
It's probably a lot.
Is it 100 million, 150 million, 200 million, or 250 million? 150.
150 million.
Sounds like people want 200 million.
File a lab request.
More people want that than 250.
Right. Being reasonable.
Yeah.
All right. Roadmap.
Oh, changing the leaderboard.
Watch out for that jackal. Watch out for when you see a jackal. Watch out.
I already jinxed the ghost.
Yeah. And what is an org's concurrent API request limit? And that's the number of concurrent inbound requests with a duration of 20 seconds or longer. 5, 10, 25, or 50?
Oops.
Ooh, that's 25. You can have 25 API requests.
All right.
Oh, some changes.
Yeah, but this is close, so I mean, it's anybody's game. Okay.
And
Take it away.
back to
All right,
Ross.
so I'm going to jump in on behalf of Andrea, who is having a baby.
Thank you.
I am clearly not, but we're going to talk about external services, which is a nice wrapper for remote method API endpoints. So you don't have to call them just raw with name credentials, but you can wrap it in invocable action to use it in Flow and other places a little bit more easily. So something that we're very excited about that takes this to the next level is using those external services as custom agent actions, right? So you put a name credential underneath it to set up the authentication. You use the API description, the OAS description of the API to sort of explain to the platform what the API endpoints are doing. That enables us to create the operations out of it, and then you can have custom actions that are, again, usable in Flow, and then now with agents. So this is something we're very excited about. It's along the lines of the Apex REST thing that Jeremy mentioned a second ago, about sort of making a lot of APIs available to agents and helping them understand your APIs better so that they select the right API and API method more often, right? Probabilistically, because of the AI piece in the mix, we want to help the agents understand the right APIs better. So we're putting some work in to make that happen. This is Spring 25, very exciting. Take any API endpoint, run it through an external service, and make it available to your agents as actions, okay? So let's scoot forward. As I mentioned a second ago, we're going to be taking this to other flavors of APIs as well, right? So there's Apex REST, which was mentioned, custom external services. We'll go into the Heroku space later this year for the same type of situation. Looking further along, we're looking at versioning those actual actions that result from running it through the external service tooling, right? The invocable actions themselves are going to be able to be versioned, increase the limits and sort of rationalize them in a little bit more of a sane way, and then keep up with the OAS specs as they evolve. 3.1, later on we'll see 4 and beyond to take our OAS support to the next level, because that's how we're understanding APIs, sort of the lingua franca of understanding what an API can do. All right? So I'll touch on this briefly. What is the main purpose of external services in Salesforce, right? It's for custom objects, connect to external APIs, using for external workflows, or to write your own OpenAPI specs. Let's see, I kind of flew past that one. Oh, great job, everybody. Yes.
Very nice.
External API, wrap it in the external service, make it available to our declarative tools, right?
All right, Carter.
Ooh, okay.
Ahead.
Okay.
This is a tight competition. I like it.
Man, it's neck and neck. It's gonna be a photo finish. All right, prerequisites to create an agent action for an external service. I kind of flew through this one quickly, but the steps were in there. What do we have here? Okay, do you register it with OpenAPI? Do you have to line it up to a Salesforce object? Do you have to use OAuth, or must it be a Salesforce API? Okay, let's see how we do here. Beautiful job, everybody. Yes, OpenAPI is what we're resting on to understand what these APIs are capable of and pull them into our platform and make them understandable by all the rest of our tools.
Can it use an OAuth 2.0 authentication?
Hell yeah.
Okay,
With
so-
name credentials, baby.
So I can use anything with an OpenAPI spec, and the OAuth is a whole nother thing.
That's true, yes. And that if you're like old school, maybe you're using basic auth. We still see a lot of that, surprisingly. But doesn't matter. You're all good with external services, no matter where the
I feel like
API
you said
is.
basic like it was an insult.
Well, I mean, I did not say that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Moving along.
yeah. Oof, these points are jumping up.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
exciting. This is exciting. Okay. All right, events. All right.
All right, hi everybody. Raj Vani. So what's coming up new for events in Spring 25? So Event Relay. Tyson, you want to cover Event Relay?
Yeah, sure. So Event Relay is our declarative connector for Amazon Event Bridge. In Spring 25, what Event Relay is now going to be able to do is support the creation and management of event relays via the Salesforce CLI. And you can also distribute relays through second generation managed packages. So really excited to add that support for Event Relay. Another exciting piece that's going to be coming out too is the enhanced usage metrics that Raj's team has created is going to be coming out for GovCloud customers, and that's later in Spring 25.
Yeah, so later in Spring 25, Enhanced Use Metrics has been a huge win for a lot of our customers. It isn't available today on GovCloud. There's some pipeline work that we need to get done, that's getting done, and this will be coming later in Spring 25, which has been a huge ask for a lot of customers.
All right.
The next great thing I want to talk about is kind of a sneak preview of the agentic publishing that we're working on, right? So now agents can use flows and Apex triggers that already publish events in your orgs. You can also build custom agent actions from your flows and Apex, and that's huge, right? And this is already GA, which really builds upon the fact that a lot of Agent 4 is already out there today. Those events are also available to all of your subscribers. on the Salesforce platform and through your external systems. So that's a huge win already, and already being GA.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen it, Filippo Zil has a great demo showing this, where he has PubSub API and an agent is publishing the events that PubSub API then consumes. Yeah. So really, it's exciting that agents are able to take advantage of all of those evented Apex and flows that you already have in your org, and there's easy connectivity for them to then integrate with all of your external eventing integrations. So really excited.
And as Tyson said, that demo's out there. If you can't find it, let us know. We'll get it for you for sure.
Yeah, he put it out in early December.
Yeah.
So take a look on there. It's on the YouTube channel. It's a really cool demo. You guys like it. All right.
Go ahead.
Great, and then on the subscription side, it's a similar story. This is a new innovation that just came out from the Agentforce team, where you're now able to invoke an agent with flows and Apex. So that means that all of the evented flows and Apex that you have in your org can now event an agent. So between agents being able to publish events and subscribe to events, now you're able to have agents really take a first-class role in your evented architectures with Salesforce. And even when you're thinking about how to go to the next level, you can have multiple agents that are all triggering off different parts of the same evented flow. So there's a lot of really powerful capabilities that we're layering on top with how agents come into play when you're working with evented architectures.
And it's so exciting because we don't often get to really talk about stuff that's so generally available, that's so powerful. And that's what I love, in fact, is that it's already out there. I don't have to say pilot or safe harbor or beta. It's there, run with it.
Yeah.
So what's coming up for events is a lot of expanded availability and usability. That's been a big thing that our customers keep coming back to Tyson and I. How are we using these events? I understand I went over my limit, but I don't understand why I went over my limit. Give me some help with these tools, right? So first and foremost, PubSub API will now run on all Hyperforce regions in summer 25. So big thanks to Tyson and his team for making that happen. The GovCloud endpoint will come out in winter 26, also a big win for PubSub API. And the big thing I'd like to call out is that the eventing setup UI is getting an update. A brand new UI is being put out for the eventing space. That is, to be transparent, a multi-release effort. We'll start to roll this UI out piece by piece as it comes available, but that's been a big thing that our customers have asked for. Raj, give me the ability to do everything that I do via code, via UI. I want to be able to publish events, subscribe to events, understand how my events are being used. I don't want to have to query limits API. I don't want to have to go to enhanced usage metrics. Give me that all in a UI form. So that's what we're working on as well. The next huge thing also, and this is something you can go get a demo for right now in the Change Day Capture and Platform Event booth, is that we are also building a conversational agent that you can ask questions. You can literally say, what is my event usage? How many events have I delivered via Comet D? How many events have I delivered via PubSub API? And that is demoable right now. It is a recorded demo because this is such new functionality. I don't even have a stable dev environment. I had a couple of engineers create an environment for me so I could record a demo, but we are showing that recording in the booth, and I highly recommend you go take a look at that. It'll explain everything to you. It's really fantastic. The other big thing I want to call out is that, who here has heard about the retirement of standard volume platform events? That caused a lot of, I'll say angst is the right word, and we've heard that angst, and we've pushed out that retirement. So it will stay in deprecation mode for the foreseeable future, which we're looking to retire now in summer 27. What I mean by deprecation is it'll still continue to work, but there will be no support going forward. So if you file a bug or something, that bug will be closed saying you should move to high volume platform events. But for all my external customers, partners, ISVs, it will continue to work until summer 27. And that's the point where we will be shutting it off. We will also be giving you a migration tool, so you don't have to do anything. We can seamlessly migrate your standard volume platform events to high volume platform events. We're also going to give you a method on how you can test that migration has worked before we shut it off. So we've heard all that feedback and we're taking it into account, and we've pushed the retirement out for the time being, but it will stay in deprecation mode.
And the only other thing I was going to add is just based on that theme of how agents are showing up in the eventing experience. Like, we're really adding this whole new conversational layer of working with agents to build eventing features, right? Like, to understand what's going on in your org and ask it plain questions. So you're not having to use Postman, you're not having to work with the APIs, you're able to just say, hey, what's going on in the org? And you can get a much more rich answer, much more quickly. So
Yeah, it's a really interesting demo. In fact, when I was building the demo, I on purpose misspelled things, and Agentforce was still able to give me the answers right away. So I think my demo is, show me all events that I published in the last 30 days, and it gives me a list. Show me all the events that I delivered via Comet D, and it gives me that list, and so on. So it's a really interesting demo to go take a look. Instead of having to build all those queries, just ask it a question and get your answers.
all right. Well, so we got one more question, a couple set of questions here. All right.
So
Takes one.
which option will not increase the speed of Apex Trigger subscribing to events? Now this is digging in deep. So is it increase the batch size of your Apex triggers? Use parallel processing, distribute subscriptions across triggers? Decrease the payload of the event? Or increase the memory and CPU of triggers? I'm excited to see the answer here. Increase the memory and CPU of the triggers.
Yeah, exactly. So this is not going to be an option, right? You can't just throw more compute at the trigger, unfortunately.
Right. So which one is the correct option? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Which will increase the speed of Apex triggers subscribing to events? Correct. Parallel processing, which is also a demo we're giving at the booth. I just wanted to plug that in.
All right. So one for PubSub API. How much faster is PubSub API at publishing events compared to REST? Is it 5 times as fast, 15 times as fast, 35 times as fast, or 50 times as fast as the REST API in terms of event published throughput? All right, so the correct answer is 35 times. We had a blog post on this about how you can scale publishing with PubSub API, and you can publish 35 times as many events via PubSub API as you can via the REST API. And a lot of that just has to do with the batching that you're able to do with PubSub API and how you're able to pipeline events with the publish streaming RPC method. So check it out. We've got a link to that blog post in this deck. So you'll be able to check that out. It's a really thoughtful post that Neha put together in terms of what you can do to scale publishing. Moving along. And then the other one is, why might you integrate with Event Relay instead of PubSub API? You want to publish events to Salesforce? You want to send events to Amazon EventBridge? Or you want to control the rate at which you consume events outside of Salesforce? All right, we got a good consensus here. So the correct answer is you want to send events to Amazon EventBridge. That's what Event Relay does. Event Relay doesn't allow you to control how quickly you send those events. It just sends them as soon as they're available. If you want more control over the rate at which you consume events, use PubSub API. Also, if you want to publish events to Salesforce, use PubSub API.
What if I want guaranteed delivery of those events to EventBridge?
Well, Relay will help you there.
There you go.
There you go. So with that, Carter, where's Carter? Come on up. Carter. Come on up, Carter.
All right.
All right.
There we go.
All right.
A new champion.
Yes.
Champion. Carter, here, why don't we come up in front.
Speech.
Thank you so much for being the new platform integration champion. This is amazing. Congratulations. What does it feel like to be a champion?
Yeah.
Very exciting. First time at TDX too.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome. Wow, that
It's
is
a strong show, strong opening.
Very excited.
At 8 a.m. also.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us today. We're really grateful that you were able to
you.
make it and play the game. And yeah,
Very excited for the platform releases that are coming out.
fantastic.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you guys.
All right,
Thanks,
so
everybody.
much. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Time for Q&A.
Yeah.
Hey, cool. Well, with that, we've got some time for Q&A. So we've got a mic stand that's right here. We can move that out into the center. And if folks have questions, we're happy to answer any questions that you have about all things platform integration.
Don't be shy.
Yeah. We've got a mic here too, if anybody wants to come up.
But don't rush up all at once.
Yeah.
Flow control.
Calm down. Yeah.
Okay. Oh. Sorry.
Yeah. 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 Yes.
Hi, I missed the first couple minutes, so maybe this was covered.
Yes.
If I have a token or a session-based API,
Okay.
so before I make calls, I have to go and get a session, how would I do that with name credentials?
Is it any sort of standard auth protocol to go get that, establish that session in the first place?
Let's say no. It's not OAuth 2, it's
Say
not.
no. Okay. Probably your best bet is to use the auth provider constructs Apex plugin. That's one option. You could write your own handling totally in Apex. The main thing that we want people to watch out for there is where are you storing the token? Looking longer arc, right? Very, very safe harbor, the safest of all possible harbors, okay? Where we're
It's on land. What are you talking about?
yeah, it's basically still on the dock. We're thinking about how to allow people to intercept different parts of a call out and response, almost in a way that you can do with an Apex trigger. And to say, like, in this situation, I need to capture the response from the IDP because it gives me a weird error code. I have to dig into the JSON to figure out that that's when I need to refresh, things like that. So that's the longer term answer. You probably will end up rolling something your own in Apex because, you know, in terms, I've never heard of a standard for quote unquote session based that we could code to, right?
Yeah.
But it's good to know that you've got that need. We have internal teams with that same need, so we're going to start with them. They'll be the guinea pig, and then when that's all smooth, we'll open it up for y'all.
Awesome. Look
Yeah.
forward to it.
All
Thanks.
right. Anybody else have questions?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, we're here for you.
Hopefully,
All right.
Yes. There we go.
Beautiful.
There we go.
Question on external services. So I had set up where a flow was calling an external service.
Okay.
But actually what I wanted to do was not get back the structured data that the external service creates. I just wanted the raw JSON payload. And there seems to be no way of doing that.
It's funny, yeah, somebody else actually just asked about that, so it's funny to see a second ask for that. I will say that overall, you know, the purpose of external services is more to make this available to people that can't code, right? So if you're looking at parsing the JSON, you're going to do that in Apex, presumably, to make sense of it?
The scenario here was they wanted to call out to I think it was they wanted to do a nightly call out to get all the new orders from Squarespace or something, but they just wanted to put them in a staging object, and then they were going to run that, ideally then through a flow that would but they wanted to make sure they captured the data because they were losing. They wanted to make sure they had a record of every call out, right?
Yeah,
And so the thought was, well, I can just capture the raw JSON, I'll put it in a staging object, and then I'll process it.
right.
So I wanted more. I didn't want it to just be call out, get it, and then if it's an error, it forgets it because I don't know what the payload was.
I think I get your point. Yeah, I would probably do that with an Apex-based action in the flow that just uses name credentials
Yeah, that's
closer
what
to
I
the
did at
metal,
end.
right? I would need to think more about what it starts to mean to blend the two worlds of code and non-code, right? I'm not saying I'm religiously opposed to the idea, but for our folks that expect to go into the external services UI, point and click, and make use of that, then if they have to drop down to Apex to do things like you're describing, I think it muddies the waters. So I gotta scratch the beard on that one a bit more. I would encourage you to post the idea exchange. I'd love to see how many more people are in that predicament, because if it's you and somebody else that I heard from recently, it's definitely not the only times that's come up in the universe. So that's my statement right now. I think you did the right thing by approaching it the way you did, and we'll give it a think going forward.
I guess, yeah, because I think I think I may have posted an idea. I mean, I think for me it would be just giving the ability to say get response body like I can in Apex.
Right.
So I can parse it.
Yeah.
If I could be given that as an external service option.
Yeah.
That would be kind of a
It's like it's
workaround.
easy enough, but then like where does that lead to? Like, are we implying that people need to be thinking about code? And I don't want to do that.
Well, it's more just
But,
give
yeah.
it as a separate,
Yeah.
right, just give it me as a method or something. That I can
Right.
put it.
Fair enough.
That's what I'm after.
Yep.
I have a simple question. Where is your booth?
Oh.
And what is it called?
There's a few of them.
The booth,
Yeah.
the one I was referencing is upstairs, about halfway down on your left. It's called Platform Events and CDC.
And the Salesforce API booth is on the other side of
Yeah.
that.
Correct.
They're
So we
always
share the
close to
same
each other.
same space.
Hi, question about event monitoring. I've been learning a lot about, the basic event monitoring in Shield, real time. I've learned that there's like some stuff that it still doesn't fully answer. Real time event monitoring has gotten more information, like you mentioned username for some of the event monitoring you're making improvements to. Moving forward, are the improvements to event monitoring happening on the real time side, or do you think there's new features? Like, for example, one thing I deal with a lot is like flow errors, and we have the setup page for flow errors, but is there a way to capture that into event monitoring?
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
We can, yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't work on event monitoring, but we're friends with the people who do.
Okay.
So
Basically saying I know a guy.
I know a guy.
Yeah.
I know the guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's kind of like the two big flavors of event monitoring. It's like stored in kind of log tables, or it's stored as real-time events.
Yeah.
And where you're going with that question is like, hey, am I going to get more stuff that's a real-time event, or am I going to get more stuff that's in the log tables? The answer is both, and it has a lot to do with just what the data is. Some of the data that you really want to have in real time, that's going to end up going into the real time category. And then the ones that are really large volumes that you don't need to interact with very often, that's going into that log-based file.
Okay, so there's no like focus on one or the other. It's kind of just what makes sense. We'll put in one or the other.
Exactly, yeah. It's not like this is the future, we're only doing one versus the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you want to come up after, I can get your information and I can pass it along to the event monitoring PM.
Yeah,
And you guys can have a conversation.
Okay.
Right? Because I don't want to speak for them. They use our
Probably a
service.
Shield booth.
Right?
Yeah, there's also going to be a Shield booth
Yeah,
upstairs.
okay.
Yeah.
So you can just ask them the hardest questions you can come up with.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
Okay.
make it
Yeah.
really unpleasant.
They'll know. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
What if I could toss you a curveball? There is something that I'm aware of that they're doing along the lines of distributed tracing.
Yeah.
So you said flow is failing, right? Or flow errors. and
Yeah,
such?
just a different way of.
Yeah. So there's some thoughts around that to say like, how can we pass through, like a token identifier that says to trace through that whole operation, to say a flow invoked an external service, which called a name credential, which called an outside endpoint. And then if you own that other endpoint, you'd want to be able to see all the way through that. There is thinking that's starting on that. It's going to start with attaching industry standard trace information to the name credential call out. And then we can stack on top from there, right? So I think that type of thing will also help, even if it's a little bit orthogonal to your exact question.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi. So his question made me think about something else. So you're launching more information on the events side of how to trace which connected app is using it, or how you're. Is there an equivalent on the API usage side? And where can I find that information?
In terms of specifically, what are you looking for on the API side?
So when you're connecting different integrations to Salesforce, there are different multiple connected apps, and requests are coming in from different usernames and connected apps.
Yep.
How do you monitor the overall usage of APIs on your?
So that's the API total usage event. So within event monitoring provides that capability. So there are a number of different event monitoring events for different types, like SOAP, REST, bulk, etc. But the API total usage event provides that for all APIs. Now, all customers get access to the previous 24 hours of that API total usage event. If you have event monitoring, then you can get it up to a year, I believe. So if you go into setup and type, I think it's an event log file browser, you can actually download those events. So you can see every single API call. There's an event for every single API call, which is logged. And that will identify, for example, the client IP address, the connected app name, the username that the request is going to execute with, and there are other fields so you can identify these individual API calls and where they came from.
Got it. And are you guys planning on having a UI, GUI monitoring dashboard for that as well in the future?
There are no plans at the moment for that level of detail.
Okay,
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Ross, just following up on what you said a moment ago, it sounded like perhaps in the future, safe harbor, there may be some sort of open telemetry spec data that's going to be available to Salesforce customers and developers.
Yep. Yeah, it's open telemetry, what I was referring to there. So
Yeah.
if you have tools that are wrapped around that, including Amazon's is a good example, right? They support open telemetry out of the box for CloudWatch, I want to say. So then if in scenarios like that, you make the call, it picks up on it, it intelligently shows you where that was from, et cetera. So it's going to start with the name credentials call out. They are thinking about the other way as well, calling into the APIs, right? Which kind of ties back to the last person's question, in a sense, right? But I think it's going to be a beta in the 256 release, I want to say. So to get more on that, chase down the Shield booth.
I was going to say, Shield.
It's those folks.
And can you translate 256 to the seasonal
That would
releases?
be summer, right?
Okay.
That sounds summer, yes.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Lovely.
Yeah, very soon.
Cheers, guys.
The answer is
All right. Thanks so much for coming, everybody. We really appreciate you being here. We're looking forward to seeing you at Dreamforce
Yep.
sooner.
Thanks, everybody. Okay.